Today's schools and classrooms are made up of many different cultures and a wide variety of backgrounds. There are different beliefs, morals, and backgrounds that students are bringing into the classroom. Classrooms are becoming more and more diverse in today's society. It is extremely important for teachers to be aware of the cultural change that occurs in each school and be willing to incorporate diversity. Teachers play a huge role in bringing multiculturalism into the classroom and making sure all students are well educated in today's society. It is believed that the most efficient way to incorporate multiculturalism into a classroom is through social studies. The question to be considered is, can multiculturalism education and culturally relevant pedagogy be used to increase student interest in social studies? A disregard for multiculturalism and social studies shows not only a basic lack of understanding of multiculturalism concepts, but of the social science discipline itself. Effective social studies education is synonymous with multicultural education. Students need to be taught how all history is important and how much history contributes to people today. History can be taught through different viewpoints, and it is important that students know this. If students realize how many different mental images are in the world, they can begin to have an understanding of multiculturalism. In order to answer the question posed, it is important to understand that multiculturalism is. In the article by Garcia, Multiculturalism in Your Classroom, he claims that multiculturalism is an educational movement built on basic American values such as freedom, justice, opportunity, and equality. It is a set of strategies aimed to address the diverse challenges experienced by rapidly changing U.S. demographics. It is a beginning step to shifting the balance of power and privilege within the education system. In today's society, multiculturalism education consists of culturally relevant pedagogy. Pedagogy, according to Banks and Banks, is the teaching strategies and classroom environments that help students from diverse racial, ethnic, and cultural groups attain the knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed to function effectively within and help create and perpetuate a just, humane, and democratic society. It is important to remember equity pedagogy because this is the focus of multiculturalism education. Banks and Banks also claims that conceptualize multicultural education as consisting of 5 dimensions: content integration, the knowledge construction process, prejudice reduction, and equity pedagogy, and an empowering school culture and social structure. Through research in effective multiculturalism, educators fall into 3 categories: knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Knowledge includes an understanding of individual learners' cultures. Skills includes recognizing and responding appropriately to learners' strengths and weaknesses, and responding to the relationship between learning styles and culture. Skills-based teaching provides school experience that embraces learners' orientations towards school and academic success. It requires teachers to select standard test and evaluation instruments with the least cultural bias and use the teaching methods that have proven especially appropriate for children and adolescents from culturally different backgrounds. Attitudes includes developing positive outlooks and values, creating culturally appropriate learning environments, and modeling for children respect and concern for all people. Multiculturalism should be discussed in all subject areas, but it is extremely important for teachers to incorporate multicultural learning in social studies. James Banks notes that multicultural education not only deals with attitudes and achievement of students, but also addresses the needs for historical accuracy and America's commitment to democratic ideals. Teachers should always be aware of times when literature can be incorporated into all subject areas. Social studies is the perfect opportunity to include literature from all backgrounds and cultures. By integrating diverse reading material, it will increase knowledge beyond the textbooks and make learning relatable. Finding books that incorporate diverse cultures can sometimes be difficult. However, there are several that will benefit all learners. The Scholastic website provides a list of books and resources that can be used in multicultural education. In the article, How to Choose the Best Multicultural Book, Clegg categorizes the books based on the different ethnicities. Each ethnicity has books that can be closely related to. Here are a few examples of how teachers can teach about the different ethnicities. For Latinos, there is a book called Green Corn Tamales by Gina M. Rodriguez. This book takes the reader into a grandmother's house as the family prepares tamales for the family reunion. Students will love the way the Latino culture is expressed in this book. For African Americans, there's a book called Pink and Say by Patricia Polacca. It is an amazing story of friendship between a black and white soldier during the Civil War. Diversity is overcome in this book, and students will love the history behind it and will be able to relate to it in today's society as well. For Jewish students, there is also a great book to choose from. One book is Mrs. Katz and Tush by Patricia Polacca. This is a great example of how to incorporate multiculturalism in the classroom, because it is a book about the friendship of a Jewish widow and an African American boy. There is also a list of books for the Native American culture. A book that discusses the culture of Native Americans and their beliefs in death is a book called Fox Song by Joseph Barak, illustrated by Paul Morin. These are all excellent resources for teachers to use when wanting to incorporate different ethnicities and cultures in a classroom. Students can read these in social studies in addition to the textbook in order to better understand the culture of what they are learning, rather than just facts and dates. They will be able to relate to the history they are learning. Being able to increase a student's knowledge is a monumental thing in teaching. Multiculturalism will allow this to happen. According to Garcia, there are several goals in multiculturalism. These include creating a safe, accepting, and successful learning environment for all, increasing awareness of global issues, strengthening cultural consciousness, strengthening intercultural awareness, teaching students that there are multiple historical perspectives, encouraging critical thinking, and preventing prejudice and discrimination. It is also important for teachers to create ways for students to demonstrate what they have learned in order to better enrich the learning process, as well as encourage the teacher. Garcia provides ways to integrate multiculturalism into lessons in social studies. One way being analyzing issues of racism through pop culture. Students will study the effects of World War II for Japanese Americans through a variety of mediums. Those can include political cartoons, newspaper articles, movies, and photography. The students will be able to see primary sources for how racism was during World War II. They will have a better understanding of World War II and the Japanese-American relations when they are doing the learning themselves, rather than the teacher talking about it. Providing questions and prompts for the students will put the learning in the hands of the students, and since they are seeing actual artifacts from the war, they will see history and better understand it. This lesson will create great discussion as a class because changes can be noted as well as part of the history that has remained the same. Another way multiculturalism can be incorporated into a lesson is allowing students to analyze slavery and the use of the Underground Railroad during the Civil War. For example, for the black slaves in America, the road to freedom was a long and difficult one. During Black History Month, it is an excellent time to incorporate history and culture with significant leaders of the slave era. Teachers can have students read Anthony Cohen's account of the Underground Railroad, Walk to Canada, the Revival. Real stories will interest students and help with retaining knowledge. Students can then use a map to track the route of the Underground Railroad from Alabama to Canada. They can also map different people they have studied in social studies. During Black History Month, the class can create a bulletin board for their class or school that includes information they have learned and people they have studied. They are able to show off what they have learned and are able to be assessed. The teacher can take the class to the library to find books related to Black history and have students complete book reports or a variety of projects in order to have hands-on learning and student-driven teaching. Reflecting back on the question, can multiculturalism education and culturally relevant pedagogy be used to increase student interest in social studies? The answer is clearly yes. Students can be engaged in the social studies classroom because lessons can become relatable when told in story form as well as with project-based learning. When students are made responsible for their learning, they are more likely to fully understand the material and importance of multiculturalism, rather than the teacher lecturing about facts. Social studies incorporation of cultures can positively impact students and will help mold students into well-educated citizens in society.